Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the Big Movement Podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have Melinda Chen, who is a sales coach who helps female entrepreneurs sell to big clients. She's also a sales executive with an impressive track record of 8 figures. So she's definitely someone you want to listen to. Her company, Women Making Big Sales, allows female entrepreneurs to start connecting and selling to big clients in just 5 weeks. So let's get a warm welcome to Melinda. So Melinda, welcome.
Yes, hi Byron. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, glad that you're here. So now, Melinda, tell everybody a little bit about your background, because most people would think like, oh, you're just like, let's say someone who's in New York or someplace like that, but you're not. So tell us your background.
Yes, I'm originally from Asia, Taiwan, and I moved to Montreal, Canada when I was 15, and then I stayed in Canada. I pretty much call it second home. And when I started, when I was graduated from university, I got my first job as international sales manager at Berlitz, and that's one of the largest language institutions in the world. And that was really the start of my sales career. When I started, even though I graduated from university, I had a lot of passion. I was ready to go. I was really not that good in sales. I thought that, as long as I could present a great offer, a good price, people would be ready to buy from me. And then that's when I realized that, hey, it was not that easy. It was hard to really get to even talk to people, get noticed, or even say things that might interest them. So I started to really, really try to learn the art of selling. And I also did a lot of cold calling. Back then, cold calling was an important thing. So I did, throughout my sales career, I've done about 5,000 cold calls and read a lot of books. And at that time, people would still go to bookstores. So I spent weekends going to bookstores and, buy the books that might be, remotely related to sales and really try to understand. And that's when I realized that, hey, sales, it's actually a lesson or a skill that can easily be learned. And once you know how to do it, then you can really apply the skill of selling to anything. And since then, I've been able to sell across the world and in different industries while being in Montreal, in Canada. So I've been able to successfully sell in United States and South Americas, Europe, and Asia. So it's been a wild ride, and now I'm excited to be able to share my skills with entrepreneurs out there and show them how to use the art of selling to sell their products, and especially to sell to those really hard to reach, high-paying clients.
Oh, excellent. That's it. An intense and amazing background. But, you hit on something that was really critical, that you had to learn how to sell. It's not that type of a skill we're born with. It's not like, you come out of the womb when you're born, like, okay, everybody, I'm sitting here and I need some diapers. It doesn't start off that way.
No, it was not that. I mean, I'm actually not a natural salesperson. I'm not the kind of person when you go to a party, then you get a lot of attention, or you are able to grab the attention of a bunch of people. That's totally not me. And even when I started my sales career, I often ask myself, what the heck am I doing? I mean, all those really seasoned salespeople, they seem so, what they talk about, they seem so confident, seem so natural. And I thought I could never have that until I really started to learn art of selling.
So then when you started to learn the whole art of selling, what was one of those first things that you had to learn?
I think the first thing I had to learn is through those 5,000 cold calls. I mean, I didn't learn it after the 5,000, but by 1,000 or 2,000, I started to realize that, hey, something's not right here. I've done a lot of dials. I've tried to talk to a lot of people. I try to get in front of these people, but they were not listening. They had no interest in speaking with me. So I knew something was off, and I had to really try to figure a different way. And that's through, talking to a lot of people and really evaluate my sales process. Did I realize that I forgot about one most important thing is really try to figure out my clients. Try to know whom I'm really targeting and know their pains and what they want to hear. Because I hear a lot of people now, even the entrepreneurs I work with, a lot of us, we get excited, we get passionate, we can't wait to create this amazing offer to our clients. We started writing blogs or webinars or create some amazing opt-ins or PDFs to give for free to our clients. But people, a lot of times we forgot to really step back and say, wait a second, who am I really targeting? And the most important thing is, what exactly do they want to see? What exactly do they want to solve? What are that most urgent problems they need to solve? So I think the fundamental, the most important thing is, hey, let's get that information, that really important information down and understand that before we start to create a lot of the marketing materials.
Right. And that's so critical that you mention understanding what is it that's a pain point. Because if you're not solving a problem for them, then obviously how can they take any interest in what you're selling? Because it can be the greatest thing known to mankind, but if it's not a problem for them, they're never going to have any interest.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, we don't really know. A lot of times, especially when we are as a professionals or if you have a product to sell, we get excited about our products or our services. So we can't wait to describe all the amazing benefits to our prospective clients. But the problem is that the prospective clients, they only care about the problems they have to solve. So oftentimes there's this big gap. For example, I was just speaking with a social media manager yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to create this amazing offer about step-by-step guide for social media," so that she wants to put down all her social media management secrets on this PDF file. Then I asked her, "But what does this solve? Like, what kind of problems do you want to solve? What are you trying to accomplish here?" And then, after speaking with her and then coaching her, do we realize that, hey, her target clients, all they want is leads for a cheaper price. They only need to get as many leads as possible for a cheaper price. So the whole opt-in, the most important thing for them, it's not about social media. They do not care about social media, even though the social media is a mean to help them solve their ultimate problem. But their ultimate pains and problems is getting the leads for a cheaper price. And that is how you bridge the gap and to really resonate with your clients.
Right. And by the sounds of it, that seems to be a sticking point for a lot of business owners out there, where they just don't know that the end goal of what somebody wants. There's that expression out there that people don't buy a hammer because they want to buy a hammer. They're buying it because it's a means to an end.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
want to hang a picture up. They want to build a house. There's a use for it. Mm-hmm. That's what we have to figure out, is what is the end thing that people want? And then you're able to provide them the methods needed to get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely, especially when it comes to selling to big clients. A lot of my clients, when they first come to me, their biggest fear is, hey, I'm just a small guy. I'm this solopreneur. I just started my business. Are you sure that I can really sell to those big companies? Are you sure that I can really successfully stand out from all the competitors and start working with these big guys? And I said, anybody has the opportunity to sell to big guys or big clients. But the most important thing is that, you gotta really pinpoint their most urgent needs. And the only way to achieve that is having a very targeted market. You're not trying to sell to anybody, or you're not trying to sell to startup companies, or trying to sell to entrepreneurs. I mean, these are just way too general, but you got to make it. I tell a lot of my clients, try to make your market as small as possible. And that's how you stand out. Because the smaller it gets, the more intimate you'll feel, and the more personal your message is. And in today's world, the world is filled with a lot of cookie cutter, non-personal voices and content. And the moment that you can really make people feel that you get it and you get their uniqueness of their business, that's how you really stand out.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned about the whole cookie cutter approach, that you have to do things to stand out. Otherwise, there's no reason to do business with a particular person if they're just like anybody else. There's no defining factor.
No, definitely. I mean, if you have only cookie cutter strategy, and that's what a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of mistakes they make, is that hey, a lot of entrepreneurs, they would follow the latest trends in terms of marketing activities. They would be saying, for example, webinar is, it's really popular. They probably see somewhere, oh, so-and-so is doing the webinar. Let's try the webinar. And they decided to spend the next a month or 2 months trying to create this best webinar. Or, people would go to trade shows and spend thousands of dollars on the trade shows. But everybody is unique. Your business, your target market is unique. So you can really try to find a map of where your clients are and understand specific pains that need to be solved before you start going after these different strategies or the most trendy ways to find clients.
Right, exactly. Because not every type of business is going to resonate with whatever the latest marketing strategy. There's some businesses going to trade shows. That is going to be the ideal way to get in front of them. Well, if you try using a webinar with the same people, you could fail miserably.
Yeah, everybody's different, and we also have different ways that we feel most comfortable with, and that's why when I train my clients, our first strategy sessions focus really on really knowing the client's pains before you even meet with them. And that's really the secrets of our training. Is a lot of time people are like, hey, how am I supposed to know my client's most intimate and urgent pains if I don't even meet with them? And that's why it's important. And we do have a lot of research approach that would allow people to really know their client's most intimate pains. And the moment you know those pains, you can then really go to a meeting and feeling very confident and say that, hey, I'm here to work with you because I already know that much about this. I know what's going on with you. I know what you've said, and I've already created solutions just for you.
Right, exactly. Because when you come forward with a solution based on the problems, now someone's listening, because that's one less thing they have to be thinking about, one less decision they're going to have to be making in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And especially when it comes to people these days, we're all very busy. We're wearing different hats, our lives filled with different priorities. It is so important to go to a meeting and be the trusted advisor and tell them that I already know all your problems. I have studied your company, your industry, the challenges or opportunities you face, and here is what I think you should do. People these days are not necessarily looking for solutions, but people are constantly looking for inspirations, and that's how you stand out.
Right. Oh, definitely. Solutions and inspirations are critical when you're thinking about it. So once people have understand that, what should they be doing to ultimately create that foundation so they can position themselves to go after that big client? Because some people, they have that mentality, that mindset, I'm just one person, or they have blockage that says, well, why would they choose me versus all these other companies that are in existence?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know everybody, it's very normal for us to feel that fear of selling, all the negative voices or insecurities. I've heard all these negative voices through my 15 years of sales career. And whenever I had to call a prospect, I could hear those negative voices. through our experience, we've developed three very distinct ways to try to help people overcome those negative voices or the fear of selling. And these are actually scientifically proven techniques to help people overcome those. And the first thing that I want to welcome people to try is just little exposures. Our brain actually gets used to exposures, gets used to negative or positive exposures over time. So that means that, for example, if you eat a really, really good ice cream, over time, if you keep eating the same kinds of ice cream over and over again, even if it's the best ice cream in the world, you still get tired of it or you get used to it. And the same thing goes to our negative feelings. If you have negative feelings or if you get nervous or fearful in terms of selling, take baby step. You don't have to sell to big clients right away or today, but expose yourself to the knowledge of selling. Expose yourself to your target clients. Don't have a great expectation, but start getting yourself close to your ideal clients. And the more exposure you get, even though you might still feel a bit of those fear or insecurity, trust me, they will go away. The more exposures you have, they will naturally go away. And right. And the second thing is knowledge. The more knowledge you have, and if you are able to get as much information of your clients, they no longer become this imaginary, fearful person in your mind. The more knowledge you have of your clients, the more intimate you will feel, and the more passionate you will feel about solving their problem. And so that would be the second thing. And third thing is, hey, you know what? Ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And really tell yourself, if they reject me, start to really acknowledge those negative feelings. What is the worst thing that I would feel? And the more you acknowledge those feelings, you'll recognize those negative feelings, and you'll learn to accept those feelings and also just let it pass. Because trust me, those negative feelings will pass. They come and goes and come and goes. So yeah.
And that is vital that you shared those, because when you think about it, especially the last one, what's the worst thing that can happen? In most cases, it's simply going to be, no, not interested. So you move on. Next.
Yeah.
And that's what people have to learn to overcome the most, is that fear of rejection. We all have, we're going to hear no. I like to use dating examples as a reference, because something everyone can relate to is that at some point you're going to ask somebody out and they're going to say no. Did it stop you and say, well, that person said no, I'm done, I'm never going to ask anyone out again? No. You just shrugged it off and you tried again.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you use the dating game, because I always tell my clients, hey, treat yourself like a waiter or waitress in a coffee shop, and you're serving coffee. And you go to one table and say, would you like a cup of coffee? And some people might say, sir, I've had my coffee, thank you very much. Would you be, all depressed and then get really, start to have all those negative feelings and say, hey, nobody ever wants my coffee. I have the worst pot of coffee in the world. Or do you just shrug it off and say, well, I'm going to ask the next table and see if they want to have coffee. So yeah, it's funny that you raise the dating games, because I think that's really useful as well.
Oh, exactly. You have to put in that perspective, because then people think about it, you know what? You're right. It's not that big of a deal, because hearing no is going to be part of the process. When you think of all the cold calls that you did, that only a small percentage were yeses.
Yeah. And those a very small percentage, has given me 8 figures in sales. So I'm fine with those 5,000 cold calls, because I know they've given me great business. And then that's what I really encourage. I will encourage the entrepreneurs to see these failures or the no's as your stepping stones to your yeses. And you only need a handful of yeses to really transform your business.
Right, exactly. What I tell clients all the time, because some people, they have this mentality, I have to have this huge following and so on. No, let's think about it for a brief moment. If you were charging, like using an example, let's say $1,000 a month for a service, and then you just want to make $100,000 a year, and once you take out some of your expenses, you might be only talking about 10 clients. So is that really that much? And then they usually think like, well, no. And to put in that other perspective, there's over 7 billion people on the planet. You only need 10. And you supposed to think, oh, well, that's not really that hard anymore when you put it into a perspective. Because sometimes we just think we have to go for this big, massive audience, but we really don't have to.
No, that is so true. I mean, if you do the math to your numbers, I totally agree with that. It's, a lot of times people are, when you don't really do the numbers, you don't even know how many clients you need. And people are just starting to do all different things, not really knowing their numbers. And that's a great exercise to really tell people, hey, how many clients do you need? And out of those clients, based on your closing rate, how many prospects do you really need? And that's, just reverse engineer that and it'll become a lot more workable, a lot more positive. And you'll also realize that, hey, the no means that, I'm getting closer to my yeses.
Right, exactly. Because when you reverse engineer it, and if you know that you have so many prospects, and then you take it to another level, that to get, let's say, those prospects, you need to have your message in front of whatever that particular number is. That's going to drive everything that you do. So then you know that, let's say that for you to have, say, 100 prospects in your pipeline at any particular point in time, that let's say you had a 10% converge from the people who saw the message to the people that ultimately became a prospect. Well, then that means you need 1,000 people at any one time to be seeing your message.
Yeah.
So then you know that, okay, well, if that's the case, what do I need to be doing every single day to maintain that number? It now becomes manageable.
Exactly.
Versus without that, you're just kind of wandering and would say, I'm not sure what to do. Like, well, focus.
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes it manageable, because then if you know that, oh, if I need at least 1,000 people, here's the activities that consistently generate it.
Yes, definitely.
And then you eliminate that state of fear and panic, knowing that if these are your conversion ratios, then you know that, guess what? Here's the end result based on that.
Yeah, a lot of people say sales is just a numbers game, and it is. And at the end, there is a lot of statistics involved and a lot of numbers involved. So treat your, you take the fear out, and it will happen. I constantly hear the negative voices, but the more you do it, the more noise, the more no's you hear, you'll get used to it, and you'll realize that, hey, it is only a numbers game. There will inevitably be people saying no to me, but that is fine. That is okay, because I'm doing this for a very big purpose, for my business, for my family, for the freedom I desire. And these no's are going to be the fuel to help me reach my goals.
Right. Exactly. There's that expression. If you're not getting enough no's, you're not talking to enough people.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that it's part of the whole process is that you can't service everybody. And when I like to use this as an analogy, that even Walmart, as big as of a company as they are, they're still going to get a lot of no's because there's going to be a ton of people that just will simply not shop there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's just natural that there's not a single business in the world where everyone looks at it and says, yes, I can't say no to this. It doesn't exist.
I hear a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes they tell me, hey, you wanted me to be more focused or provide more be more focused in terms of the target market I want to serve. But what if people, there are so many things I could do, and if I only focus on one thing, what if I meet a prospect who is really interested in other things and I missed out the opportunity? And I think, the fear of missing out the opportunities, it's very normal especially for startup entrepreneurs, but just treat it like sales campaigns. So tell yourself, hey, the next 2 months, this is all I'm going to focus. And after 2 months, you are welcome to go back and reevaluate your sales process and see if your target is working, if your offering is doing well. But you have to be very focused. Without being focused, just like you said, Walmart, not everybody can sell to anybody. So being focused is so important, especially when it comes to sales.
Right. And here's the other thing where people sometimes don't think about when it comes to that fear of missing out. Well, what if there's a bigger fish out there?
Yeah.
We live in this super connected world where sometimes we have to remember that it might seem that person you're talking to, they might not be the biggest fish in the pie or the pond, whatever you want to call it, but who's in their network? And while they might not be the biggest one, it might be that they might be golfing buddies with the person who sits on the board of a large company that's looking for your service. So sometimes you have to remember that the person you're wanting to connect with can only be a connection away from somebody you're doing business with currently.
Yeah, that is such a great point. And in our training program, there's one important tool we always talk about. It's called the relationship map. So once people identified their target market, we always ask them to create relationship map to really understand, okay, who is connected to whom and who are the super connectors within your target industry. Because the reality is every industry, the moment you're very specific about your market, everybody knows everybody. And I'm sure you must feel the same way too in terms of podcasting world or the podcasters. Eventually, they all know each other. And that's why we always recommend people to start creating that relationship map to have very clear idea and don't miss out any opportunities and have that clear idea of, hey, I'm connecting with a super connector business because this super connector is going to lead me to certain prospective clients.
Right. Now, can you expand upon exactly what a super connector is? Because some people might not be familiar with the term.
Yes. Super connector is somebody within the specific industry can really connect you or give you referrals, give you introductions to your end prospective clients. And so what we notice is that when you're looking at an industry, there are different kinds of super connectors. And one thing I always tell people is salespeople. If you go to one industry, start connecting with the salespeople within that industry, the super salespeople, because they tend to know a lot of people. They tend to know the important influencers within that industry. So build relationship with them or provide value so that, that's one type of super connector. Another type of super connector, startup companies or startup entrepreneurs within that industry. A lot of startup entrepreneurs, they are always going to different networking events and they have a really good source of, for example, LinkedIn connections or the service providers they work with. So look through it, and we use relationship map to identify these people. So when we study an industry, we try to find, who are like the super salesperson, the star salesperson within that industry. You got to connect with this person because this person is most definitely going to be connected with the influencers or your prospective clients. And the second thing is, do we have any, maybe startup companies that are really active in that industries? Can we connect with these people? And another person is complementary service provider. If you're a social media manager, is there any really star copywriter within that industry or marketing consultants, agencies? And these are the people who are always very active within the industry. And it is your job to go connect with them. And what we really focus on within our program is find out their names. It's not just theory. We want their names. We want the names of the super connectors. We want to know which associations they hang out with, which Facebook group or LinkedIn group they hang out with, or which networking events they go to. And once we identify these, you have a very clear idea why you're doing things. You're not just going to networking events because people tell you to. You're going to a specific networking event because you're trying to connect with so-and-so, and that so-and-so is very well connected and will inevitably refer you to more clients, and especially those very hard to reach clients.
Right, and that's powerful. Now, what is a great way for people to, you mentioned finding that star salesperson what's a great way for someone to find out who these people are?
LinkedIn is a great place to start. LinkedIn has revolutionized the entire sales world. So what I would recommend people is go onto their LinkedIn, and the first thing they should do is, I hope they have LinkedIn profile, and definitely give it a try. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, start to create a profile. And one example is, go to your prospective clients, your target clients. So you do the LinkedIn research and have fun. Take a Sunday afternoon or something and type in your ideal client. Maybe you know this client through some kind of industry publications or on the news. You're at the back of your mind, you're like, hey, it'd be great if I work with this person. So type in the person's name and try to find, has this person given any recommendations to other people or received recommendations from? The super connectors love to provide recommendations or receive recommendations because that's how they build their profile. So have fun, do a lot of, try different LinkedIn, look into different LinkedIn profiles of your target industry, and then look at, whom they've received recommendations and, receive recommendations from. And that is usually a first step for you to really start to see the repeat pattern. And that's how we start to build that relationship map is, do you see a few names that kind of start to come out? Or similar positions? Do you keep seeing, hey, you know what, the sales of a specific softwares tend to, VP of development of so-and-so tend to start popping up, or director of marketing tend to pop up, or what are the positions that show up? And that's really where you can start to identify your super connector. I do have a webinar on my website, and that also demonstrate the power of relationship map, that if people are interested, they can take a look at into it too.
Oh, excellent. And that's really powerful. So, obviously when, we've talked about people having that foundation, identifying the people they want to target, what is it that people should be saying when they're approaching the big fish out there? So they have that confidence, so they don't sound like, oh, is this person desperate when they're coming to me? How can they position themselves from a place of an authority so they can win the sale?
Yeah, I think the most powerful way, the most effective way to position yourself as somebody who's authoritative is having the insider information. And there are a lot of ways that you can create the so-called insider information. For example, you can really look through the competitive, your target clients, what are their competitors doing? Study their competitors' most recent marketing campaigns, new product launch, change in personnel, or maybe change in ownership. Try to really understand the industries, or try to understand the key industry trends, the new technology. So when you are actually finally in front of your big clients, you don't need to sell your products. You stop selling your products, but tell them that, hey, by the way, I noticed that your competitors are doing so and so. Did you know that? I've got some ideas I'd love to share with you because, hey, come on, that is a big news. Because the moment you start talking about things that it's very industry specific and something they don't understand, you don't need to go to your value proposition or say, hey, I'm really good at I'm really good at doing whatever. You instantly build your credibility by having that insider knowledge. And I always find it one of the most powerful way and refreshing way when it comes to big clients who are used to being sold to. But now all of a sudden, you're this trusted advisor who's giving him something that he does not know, or something that's probably he already knows, and it's at the top of, it's in his mind, and he's trying to figure out what to do with that information.
Right. And that is vital to creating that success, is coming from a place where you're solving that problem and you're giving him those answers. So now when he or she, when you say that, you go, oh, okay, well, this makes sense. I don't have to dig for this. And now it simplifies it because, like you said, you're not having to demonstrate like your value proposition or anything else. You've essentially sold them at this point.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of getting to the close.
Yeah, I always tell people the most powerful way to do it is show, don't tell. So try to show how much you know, but don't tell them.
Right. It's much more believable when they can see it versus you just talking about it.
Yeah.
Because anybody can talk about it, but not everyone can show them what they need to see.
Exactly.
So, and that's just critical. So now, when you take all these things and you put them together, what's that one thing that people need to know when they're going to position themselves to pitch these big businesses for a sale?
I think if you're determined and you're ready to sell to those really hard to reach decision makers, is tell yourself, try to limit your prospect list to 50 people, and then talk to everybody you know, talk to the super connector, talk to potential clients, and try to identify 3 things that are the most urgent problems. And then you can build whatever you want, build webinar, build sales letters, build email, whatever you want around these. But if you really, really want to go after big clients, try to identify those 3 urgent problems and then build your entire sales campaigns accordingly.
Excellent. That's really what people need to do to be successful at it, is focus in your efforts, because when they're scattered all over the place, it's not effective. You kind of think about the difference between having this, let's say, a round piece of glass and a magnifying lens. One's like, okay, great, you can see through it, but the other one's focusing that energy to one specific spot.
Yes.
Which has a total different outcome if you ever play with a magnifying lens as a kid and started cooking things.
Yes,
so,
yes. And we're talking about entrepreneurs where a lot of them are solopreneurs, and or maybe some of them got a small teams. We all have limited resources and times, and that's really important to keep in mind. You cannot risk wasting your time to just spray and pray, and that's a lot of people do. They just spray and pray for the best. But no, let's make sure that, this is all the money you've got, and make sure that you're extremely targeted, and you do everything because there's a purpose to it. You do everything because you've got the map, you've got a relationship map, and you know why you're spending time to a certain networking event, and you know why you're spending your resources to building an opt-in or a service that really, really answers the client's most urgent pains.
Right, definitely. Excellent. So now, how can people learn more about you and the programs that you offer?
Yeah, well, people are free to come to my home. It's womenmakingbigSales.com. And on it, if you're interested, I can also send you one of my most popular tools that I usually share with my audience. It's a complete sales script that I use to get big clients. So I would be very happy to share this with your audience. I'll send you a link, and that's where I share all different scenarios and how you can approach your clients. How to ask for a meeting without sounding pushy, or how to ask for introductions without forcing people to say yes. So with different circumstances, what kind of sales script or what kind of scripts can you use to make the most impact? And I'd be very happy to share that resource with your audience.
Oh, excellent. I'm sure they're going to be able to read that, and people can find the link for that in the notes on this for this episode. Well, Melinda, I want to thank you for coming on to the Big Movement podcast today and sharing your insights in terms of how can people position themselves so they can start landing those big clients, which will ultimately transform their business.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure. It's so interesting to discuss with somebody who's like you, and who also has the experience helping entrepreneurs and try to bring big impact for businesses.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.